How long does it take to find a deal using driving for dollars? Of all the strategies out there for finding deals, driving for dollars is one that can help a new person that isn't have the budget to compete with other big real estate investors in a way they're not going to be willing to compete. So one of the things I like to teach our members is how to find deals using driving for dollars. It works for multiple skill levels, and today I want to talk about how long it actually takes to find a deal. One of the things I really believe in is what's called reverse engineering your success. So basically, where do you want to be? And how do you reverse engineer that backwards to get to where you want to be? Because most people think, oh, I want to make a deal happen, but they forget about all the work that's necessary to make the deal happen. And they think the person that made the deal happen just got lucky. Well, I can tell you, nobody gets lucky, because luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So what you need is a game plan and what I like to call a roadmap. So I've put together what's called a next property roadmap that will walk you through exactly what you need to do in order to have a deal happen. So let's jump over there so I can show you what this is all about. Okay, this is what's called our next property roadmap. Okay, this is basically to reverse engineer your success. So what happens is you come in, you download, you make a copy of this file, which I'll actually just do right now, make a copy so I don't mess it up. I'm going to call this test copy. And then once I do that, then I've downloaded this into my own Google Drive. You don't need Excel or anything else like that. Okay, so here we've got it. There's some other instructions. Edit it, you go to the file, you download it. You can do it in Excel or you can do it in Google itself. Okay, so basically what you're doing here, I'm going to get rid of these things because these are just some instructions. So basically, the first question I have to ask myself, I have to fill in these questions here. So how many hours a week am I willing to drive? So this is driving hours per week. Well, maybe you say, you know what, I can do 5 driving hours a week. Maybe it's I'm going to get up on Saturday or Sunday mornings and drive. Maybe it's I'm going to drive a couple of times after work. But I'm going to drive, I'm sorry. Let's say I'm going to drive 3 times and I'm going to do that 2 days a week. Let's say I'm going to do one evening and then I'm going to do a Saturday morning, let's say. So twice a week, I'm going to drive for 3 hours. Okay, then the next question we have here is, what is going to be your strategy to contact these people? Do you want to do door knock and manual dial, doing 5 rounds? Do you want to do manual dials from a skip tracing? Do you want to do emails, voice broadcast? Do you want to do postcards? What are you planning to do? Now, let's talk about a few of these. SMS is a text message where you're sending a text message. To do that, you're actually going to have to do what's called skip tracing. There's a cost of skip tracing, normally around 15 cents per record. And what they're going to give you is the best phone numbers and email addresses they have for that property address. Now, will they be the people? Most of the time it won't be, and occasionally it will be, but for that amount of money to potentially get them or get someone else that may be interested, it's probably worth it. So you can do that, and then you can do SMSs after you've done a skip trace. You can also do an email campaign after you have done the skip trace where you're sending an email out to all these people. The next steps are calling them, which you will have to do that skip trace to call, but if you do the skip trace, you can do SMS, call, and email. Or what you can do is actually send postcards. Postcards is where I'm sending postcards out. I don't need a skip trace to do postcards. I only need to do a skip trace if I want email addresses and cell phone numbers and any telephone numbers. The other thing that I can look at doing is actually knocking on the doors that are by the property. And this is what we call a 5-around. Let me jump to our whiteboard here real quick. What is a 5-around, you ask? Well, let's say this is the property that you have looked at, or you come and you're doing some driving for dollars and you're like, hey, this house is in really bad shape. Sorry, I'm not an artist, as all of you know. Okay, so what you could do is you can say, hey, you could look on your app and say the house looks bad, so that's probably motivation, and I can check and make sure there's equity on my phone. Okay, there's equity in this property. So then what I can do is I can get out of my car and I can go and I can knock on the door here. This is the subject property. Well, guess what? They don't answer. They're not home, whatever the case is. So there's a house here, there's a house here, there's a house here, here, and here. We call this the 5-around. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the 5 houses that are closest to the house that you're actually interested in. Well, why is this so important is because one of these people, there's a good chance they're going to have the cell phone number to this person, or they're going to have a home number to this person, or they're going to have an email address, or you could leave a business card and say, hey, will you have them call me? The very best thing when you're doing the 5 round is knocking on the door and saying, hey, do you know the owner next door by chance? And yeah, I do, or no, I don't, or what do you want with them? You know, those types of things. You'll say, hey, I'm a local real estate problem solver, and I help people in real estate problems, and it looks the house is in need of some repairs. I'm wondering if you know who they are. Could I get their phone number? Can I get their name? Can I get their email address? Who would know that? The first thing is, don't just say, have them call me. You want to try and get the phone number first. Now, if they're reluctant to give you the phone number, say, I probably shouldn't do that. Then I'm going to say, this is my phone number. Will you please give it to them? Will you please ask them if they can give you my phone number and call me anytime so we can make this happen? Would you mind if I get your phone number, the person of that house, so I can follow up with them to make sure they follow up to get the neighbor's phone number, right? And then I've got to aggressively follow up and say, hey, we met the other day. You're going to talk to the neighbor on 123 Main Street, the guy next door. Just wondering if you've had a chance to talk to him. Is he interested? Can I get his number from you? That's the type of follow-up that is necessary in this market to be successful. I'm not just going to do that once. I'm going to do that 5 times. I'm going to do it for the 5 houses that are around the subject property that I found with driving for dollars, and I know that it's got equity. I knock on these and I do the exact same thing to all 5 of them. Hey, I'm interested in this house. Do you know the owner? Do you have their phone number? Do you have their email address? Do you know how I can get in touch with them? Do you know any of the family members? You know, trying to get all that information. If you can't, the next thing is, great, I'm going to leave a card, give me a call, and let me get your phone number so I can call and follow up with you. That's what you're wanting to do. Of course, you can leave a card or a note on this property as well, but you're going to do this every single time you're going to do those 5s. The idea is the 5 people that live closest to them, one of them is probably going to have a phone number, which would get you in touch with them. Now, the great thing about this is a lot more work than some of your big time investors. I know real estate investors that spend $100,000 a month in advertising. That's a lot of money. And if you're trying to break through and get there, this is a great way, because let's just say this property, this subject property, for some reason doesn't show up on one of the lists of what the big time real estate investors is marketing to. It fell through the cracks because of some reason. Well, those are the ones we're looking for, is the stuff that fell through the cracks. So that's what we're going after here. And this is one of the great ways to do it. Now, let's jump back over to our next property roadmap. So I'm just going to make this really simple and just say, you know what? I don't have a bunch of money. If I'm just going to be doing the manual knocking and the 5 round, I'm going to need to be driving about 14 hours a week. Now, let's say that I'm willing to spend money on postcards and marketing and those things. Well, I can do quite a bit less. I can really just do about 5 hours a week, and I can do that. Let's see here. How many times a week do I actually need to do that? Driving properties per hour, let's just say we're going to jump to 20, and I'm there. But let's say I don't have the money. This is how much I'm going to have to spend to actually get a deal. Let's say I don't have the money, and let's say I'm going to spend about 7 hours, and I'm going to do that twice, days per work week, driving hours per week. Let's just keep this at 1, and then let's say we're going to be at about 4 per hour. Okay, so how long is it going to take me to find? If I'm not willing to spend money on the marketing, what's it going to take me? Well, this gives you an idea of how many hours, driving hours, how many weeks till you have your first contact, how much cost you're spending on average. This gives you a breakdown of how long it's going to take you to actually get that very first deal. So let me explain. On week 1, you've added 28 properties. There's 3 properties that have probably fallen off. So you've got 25 properties you're marketing to. You've driven for 7 hours. This gives you a breakdown. So you've got 7 hours and 56 minutes into it. Well, you're going to do the same thing week over week. Well, guess what? 10% of those are going to turn into leads. Part of those are going to turn into conversations. Part of those are going to turn into prospects. Part of those are going to turn into appointments. Part of those are going to turn into offers. And part of those are going to turn into deals like you can see down here. So let's make sure you understand what these are. A lead is someone that you actually go after, right? A lead is, I've skip traced them, I've got their information, I've got a phone number, I'm going after them. That's number of leads. Conversations is the number of people that you're actually talking to or speaking with, whether they're interested or not. Prospects are people that are actually interested. Appointments are people you schedule an appointment to go to their property. Offers are people where you actually make the offer, and contracts are the ones where they accept your offer. So that's what you're doing. And you can see week over week over week, you have to keep building this thing in order to get there. Now, if you have the luxury of spending some money, if you want to do like some postcards, you have some luxuries of doing those things, you're not going to have to do as much in order to be successful, but you are going to have to spend some more money. So this is going to take you 12 weeks to find a property on average. It's going to cost you about $174 a week. 67 hours is what it's going to turn into. So you're about 9 hours a week that you're going to have to invest to end up making this happen. Well, what if you have to do less? Well, that's fine. You can come in and adjust this, or if you don't have the money, you can say, hey, I'm just going to do, let's see, let's go to 7 here. I am just going to do this type where I'm going to do door knocking and make that work, or I'm actually going to do just my own where I will call them, SMS, that type of thing is what I'm actually going to do. Now, so this is basically gives you a week by week and a schedule for you to find your first deal. Now, it may seem like, oh man, 40 weeks or 30 hours or whatever seems like a lot of time. And the reality is it is. I can tell you right now, the very hardest deal to do is your very first one. And after you've done one, the next one becomes easier. The next one becomes easier because you've got a lot of learning that's happening along the way. But let's just play around with this real quick. Let's jump back to my handy dandy whiteboard, and let's just say, for number's sake, let's just say that you end up spending, oh, let's just say 100 hours, okay? And 100 hours in finding a property and doing that. Well, the average after all expenses for my members is about $33,000. Let's just rough in that $33,000. So would it be worth to spend 100 hours to make $33,000? Well, how much is that per hour? Well, that's $330 per hour. Well, how much do you make now? Probably not $330 per hour. Most people don't make $330 per hour, right? If you look at that, that's $660,000 per year. If you annualize that, if you could get that hourly, that's pretty good money. Well, let's say it takes you 200 hours, okay? So that would be $165 an hour. If you times that by 2, it's about $320,000 a year annually. So that would even be worth it. So even if it took you 200 hours and you can make $33,000, that would be worth doing it. So most people get short-sighted. They just say, hey, you know what? It's going to take too long to find a property. And it's like, yeah, it is going to take a long time to find a property, but the payoff is going to be worth it. You have to keep doing the same things consistently. Now, for you and your area, it's going to be different than me and my area. My skill sets and your skill sets are going to be different, and we're always working on improving those. But in addition to that, it's going to depend on the price ranges, the competition, your skill sets, the areas. All those things have a factor in how long it takes. So what you really want to be doing with this next property roadmap is documenting what it takes to get your very first deal. And then once you've done that, you try and replicate that, saying, hey, this is the formula that I got the first deal. Let's see if I can do the second one with that exact same formula. And that'll help you know I'm going to have to spend 100 hours or 50 hours or 70 hours or 200 hours, whatever that number is. And then you can go into your next deal saying, I'm planning on spending 200 hours. But the cool thing about this is as you get better, it will cut down the number of hours you're actually having to spend to make a deal actually happen. So it helps you to replicate your success and know the formula that drives the success. And that's one of the things that most people don't know how to do, is what is the recipe for success and how can I duplicate it? And that's all about what this next property roadmap is about, is to help you think in terms of reverse engineering your success and what it's going to take for you to find your next deal. Now, if you're looking to do these types of fix and flips, you've really got to understand how to nail down your fix and flip rehab costs. So I've put a video together so you can check that out, how to be fast and accurate, why you don't need a contractor yet in those early stages, and my rules of thumb that work for even brand new investors. Check out this video and make it a profitable day.